and it is interest rate cut day. If they're going to cut, or maybe they're going to stay pat, we don't know. We're going to find out here in about 90 minutes. Tackle Trading's halftime report, 9/18/2019. We've got Cody, we've got Noah, we've got Father Stoccaducci on the halftime report here today. I know that you're hesitating on this one, Noah, but we are going to run with it, at least in the short term, and have some fun. How are you doing, Noah, by the way?
I am fantastic. Glad to be here as always. Just waiting here with bated breath to see what the Feds are going to do.
Yeah, the market is too. I mean, you've got a doji here up on a moving average, 9 EMA, kind of running, riding the lightning right there. And a couple of dojis as we're heading into this event throughout the entire week. What's your read on the technicals here, Noah?
Well, just that. I think this is just a big pause and a wait and see as we've established, came up and touched the highs, back down to the moving average, and now it's just kind of hanging out in the middle. So this is what I would call a holding pattern. Just everybody's playing wait and see. And this is playing out just about as textbook as you'd expect to see heading into a Fed meeting. Just kind of a sideways chop oscillation as everybody waits to see what the policy statement's going to be. And I think, we watch the odds of the rates changing, rapidly. Yesterday we were, leaning towards no cut. Today we're back leaning towards a cut. And I think a lot of it's going to come down to the commentary after the fact. So
I think the CME tool just had to shake out some of those stop losses real quick. It just had an inversion there for a second and then shifted out. So that's what I think it was. Totally.
Well, it was interesting.
Cody, I know you've been watching that all week. I mean, kind of explain that to our audience, how those numbers have changed dynamically day by day by day by day. I think on the CME Group's Fed Watch tool, Noah, we've seen the percentage split between the people who think it's going to cut and those who do not think it's going to cut change radically this week. Cody, explain that if you will.
So I'm actually going to go back about a month. So about a month ago, there were only two different columns. And the columns were whether or not we would have a 0.5% cut or a 0.25% cut. And then slowly that 5% decrease to dwindling doesn't exist anymore on this chart. And then you started getting the chance of a no percent cut, which was started just like as a 2% to 98% of a 0.25% cut. And then within this week, we saw it rapidly shift. With yesterday alone, it almost went exactly 50-50, inverted a little bit to 60-40, 60% saying that there would be no cut at all. And then within this morning, it's shifted back to where it was starting the day yesterday. So it's a crazy amount that it's shifted so much. I don't know what insider tips or rhetoric CME Group is getting or what data they're seeing that we don't see that's causing this to shift like that, because I haven't seen any new data in the past 2 days that supports it shifting the way it did in such rapid form.
Yeah.
I don't know what to think about this.
Yeah, I don't know what to think about it either, because quite frankly, I still have the mindset that they're going to cut. I mean, Jerome Powell came out very clearly over the last couple of months with speeches and tones where they're very deliberate with the way they said things, Noah. And now all of a sudden, because we've seen some interesting data, we think the Fed governors are going to come out and not hold to the policy expectations they had just a few weeks ago. The market, by the way, does not think they're going to cut. We'll go through all the implications. Let's start with, let's say they do cut. What do we expect from stocks? Volatility, craziness, just another day at the office? Do you think we're going to get a big move here on a cut?
I think the quarter point cuts priced in off of the initial, watching the market rally off of the anticipation of a rate cut and some of the dovishness coming out of some of the Fed members. So I think if we get a quarter point cut, the market will probably power through resistance.
Yeah, I think a quarter point cut would be good for the market here because this whole expectation has changed so much. The risk now is in no cut. It's a weird dynamic. We don't know how the market's going to react. Treat it kind of like an earnings report. Unpredictable event in the middle of the day where we don't know if the market's going to want to make it run up or down or both. And Cody, you trade a lot of news-based events in the Forex market, so you have some real experience about this. We don't really play that first move, even if you are day trading. Nope. Be patient with the reaction and realize, and we'll look at the volatility here in a minute, realize you don't have to catch that first 5-minute candlestick, right, Cody?
Yeah, if you want to lose money in Forex, be antsy, click really quickly, and over leverage yourself. if you want to lose money in the Forex market, then yeah, that FOMO, that fear of missing out, it kicks in really quickly. As soon as you see that number start moving, and it's moving very rapidly, you start feeling that fear of missing out, like, oh my God, I gotta get in. And you end up clicking that button right as it stops, changes direction, and goes the opposite way. So if you want to lose money, try to play that first.
It sounds like it, so you're speaking from some experience here.
Oh,
I need to see the father on that one.
Oh, Father Stakadushi, I have a confession. I've clicked too quickly in the past.
I have traded the first move on a Fed announcement and lost money.
It's that knee-jerk reaction. Always, it's interesting to watch that market move. Like, you get that initial knee-jerk reaction. I've seen it reverse so many times over the years, where the initial reaction comes out, and then by the time they actually do the press conference, then the market ends up changing directions. And so it's usually a little two-leg move, and the way it moves first is not always the way it ends up going. So
yes, exactly.
Keep an eye on that.
Correct. Back on the daily chart, let's look through all the indexes one at a time here real quick. Dow, S&P, and NASDAQ all feel the same to me. The Russell has an interesting resistance point here, Noah. And so break them down one, just rapid fire real quick through all of them. Finish on the Russell, though, and let me know if you think it's 1600 on the Russell or 1610, but give me analysis on all of them.
All right. So the Dow here looks to me like a possible forming cup and handle. So it's got the exact same pattern where it's come up into the resistance, touched that, came up right towards those all-time highs, shallow pullback into the rising moving average. The volume's getting quiet as everybody's kind of playing wait and see for the Fed. And again, I think we get a quarter-point rate cut. The market probably likes that, and it'll end up powering through resistance. Half-point rate cut might spook the market, might have an unintended consequence. And no cut, it'll be hard. Again, that's kind of a mixed signal, Tim, because if they don't do the cut, maybe they're saying the economy has its own legs and it could power through anyway, or they don't like it and they sell off. The big 50-period moving average down here at 26,600 ballpark. That's kind of where I see this is moving either up above resistance or down towards that moving average on the first initial move. And then let's take a look at the NASDAQ real quick. NASDAQ, again, also not right up at the highs, but not far off of them. Didn't quite come up and touch them like the others. And again, same type of pullback pattern. Everybody's playing wait and see, volumes dropped there. So same basic pattern. And if we look at the rut, RTY there, I'm going to call it 1600 even, because it's tested that more. 1610's that kind of previous ballpark high, maybe in 1620, but as of right now, 1600 is the resistance zone most recently tested, and a little pullback here. I know a lot of condor traders are worried about that 1600 number. So if it breaks out, you need to probably adjust, quickly. But in the meantime, a little bit of selling pressure, and I think the same thing, wait and see. And pretty neutral pattern leading into this, but right up on resistance. So you always have to be cautious of that breakout.
By the way, Condor traders, if you are one of them, we do have our mastermind group on Wednesday tonight at 8:30 p.m. Eastern time. We also have another event here for beginners, Noah, that you're going to be teaching about the step system tonight as well. We're going to be pitching both of those. Cody, by the end of the show, if you can grab the link to the events page and also the registration page for those two things, we'll drop them in the chat at some point. The RTY one, the reason I asked, Noah, is because Condor traders back in April, we got tricked into hedging that breakout, that little false breakout as it popped above resistance. Now here at 1600, if let's say you've got 1700, 1710 call spread, got 100 points cushion, which is still plenty. And some people are going to be at 1660, 1680. It depends on how and where you built it. But let's say you got a full 100 points. Do you hedge that?
Well, I always find that the sooner you hedge, the more effective it is. And so if it breaks this resistance, you might start out by throwing on like a bull call debit to hedge, or maybe, pulling one leg off the condor. But I think it's, the sooner you take action on that, the better. You might wait for a close above resistance. If you've got some cushion, if you're out there towards, 1660 or higher, then you might wait for a close above resistance see if the volume kicks in behind that on the futures. But again, I get what you're talking about, the worry about that one little fake out, just poking up enough to dupe you into hedge. One of the challenges with the hedges is you always have to have a trail stop on the hedge. Because I've done that enough times where I've thrown the hedge on and the market, whipsaws or reverses, and then the hedge ends up costing you, some money too. So that's a pretty good line in the sand at the 1600 ballpark. Again, the sooner you take action on the hedge, the better and more effective it is. And I would say watch that for the close.
Oh, Father, I must confess, I have overhedged my trade at some point in the past, but I will always. And by the way, I'm going to run with this forever. This is my new favorite thing on the planet. I know that you're very much questioning your judgment on this.
I'm wearing a mustache. This is the problem. This can't last.
Oh, it'll last. This might be you.
We're going to grow it out a little bit more.
By the way, if you don't know what we're laughing at, Noah started a new Twitter handle. Noah, what is the Twitter handle?
The Wall Street Priest.
The Wall Street Priest.
I will type it in.
Father Guido Staccaducci, and there's a YouTube channel to boot. And we've got our first confession video in, and we're going to have a few more of those coming in. And I will take your confessions. You can email, you can do it anonymous, whatever you want, because I know we've all made sins in the past.
Oh yeah, no, it's just a fun way to kind of talk about mistakes we've made. There's no doubt about it.
Oh no,
so no, and that's what I was saying. I think is going to be the best part about this is versus a lot of the. I mean, our channel included us constantly teaching trading. I think it's going to be one of the first channels that really says, "Hey guys, how did you screw up in trading? Like, what mistakes did you make?" Which by making a channel where it's all about the mistakes, it's going to make people open up, and I think it's gonna be a great platform.
Everybody who's been in the business longer than say a year or two, we've all made a bunch of mistakes, so this can go on for a very long time. Noah, I'm sure we can get quite a few confessions.
Well, I already have had random confessions on Twitter from people I don't know that aren't a part of our group, and some of them are pretty funny. I think some of them are actually bragging, not necessarily confessing, but there's been some good ones already.
Yeah, too good.
Well, so I put 3 links over there in the chat. The first one is the mastermind group for tonight. The second is the Wall Street Priest's Twitter handle, and the last one is that channel. So we do need some subscribers over there, guys. So if you like our channel, you subscribe to the Tackle Trading YouTube channel. Definitely go subscribe to the Father as well.
Yeah, let's keep breaking down.
They say my accent's no good.
Yeah,
terrible. It's terrible.
It's the greatest. All right. The dollar index and the commodity markets, if we can here, boys. Let's keep working through the markets. And we're not going to commit another sin and not do our daily routine here today. We'll be confessing by the end of the show. Dollar sign DXY fading uptrend, still kind of casually bullish.
It is a non-touching asset until after the Fed.
Yep.
Don't even think about it.
Who do you which product do you think the Fed is going to have the biggest impact on? Okay. Or we're going to talk dollar, bond market like a TLT, crude oil, which has been crazy, or stocks. I mean, the dollar here, biggest investment vehicle in the world by size. And we're kind of just hanging out here in the middle. Cody, you're
that's
my Forex
really
guy.
Good question, Tim.
Yeah.
I actually think I'm going to go. I think the market. So first of all, when we say affects, like I'm going to go percentage wise because
Sure.
each of these has different sizes. I'm going to say percentage wise, I think the market will react the most over. I think it'll go market, bonds, dollar, then oil. That's the order I think that percentage wise affects based on what the Fed does or doesn't do.
Yeah, and it's not really a fair fight because a 1% move in the dollar, Noah, is like a 2% move in stocks,
Yeah,
So we'd have to adjust it for whatever the spread would be. But Noah, what do you think? The dollar going to move here on this news?
Well, I think the dollar definitely moves. I think the market's probably going to be the most responsive. And I'm curious about the bonds because I didn't quite grasp everything about their little the repo deal that they didn't push through yesterday.
Yeah.
Where they were talking about repurchasing the bonds and then due to technical issues, they didn't. Those bond buybacks, people may not understand that real well, but a lot of that you're actually seeing the destruction of currency as they buy back and they move things off balance sheets and things of that nature. So that's going to be interesting. I think it could affect the bond market. And I think there's a lot of, tentative traders in that bond market kind of worried about that, especially with Europe going negative on rates and new 50-year bonds and things coming out. So that could be interesting. I'm going to go with market, bonds, dollar, oil.
Mm-hmm. By the way, bond news today, I saw that Mnuchin was talking about that 50-year bond is a legitimate reality. It's going to happen, at some point, they believe.
Oh, your grandkids are going to love it.
Yeah, they're going to love it. Give the government debt, for the next 50 years. That's fantastic, right? I think bonds, actually, you've seen volatility in the interest rate cycles lately, and people don't know what to expect from the Fed. So if you have an unexpected bit of news, it could be TLT. That TLT ETF product is a really volatile one, a good one, and a good product to trade in the bond market. You can see that M pattern up on the top, deep pullback, no volatility here, I would guess.
Yeah, I expect some volatility, especially out of this meeting, because this is probably, I think, one of the more tentative, or I guess, anxiousness around the meeting that I've seen in a long time. A lot of times I think it's been a foregone conclusion that the Feds are just going to do what they're going to do.
Yep.
In this case, I think there's just a lot of uncertainty. So because of that, I expect maybe a bigger knee-jerk reaction initially.
It's going to be interesting. We always say that on Fed meetings, and 70% of the time they're not interesting. But I do think today feels different. You've seen such a radical shift in the Fed funds rate. I'm seeing just volatility in those rates. So noon here, about an hour and 10 minutes, we're going to find out what the market thinks. And then for another 2 hours, we'll see how it trades. So we'll see where they're going to put their money, where their mouth is, no doubt about it. Give me commodities here real quick. Crude oil, some of the energy stocks. Maybe we'll let's look at natural gas as well. I like the candle on nat gas. Crude oil backfilling into 58. I asked Matt this the other day. Is that a buy as a kiss hello here, Noah?
Well, again, the big gap in energy being driven off of the news of the tanker bombing. We've seen that they've got their production back up to 70%. I think you still have a glut of oil. I'm a little skeptical on the buy side here, because I think that this is this going to be continued problems with inventory? I don't know about that. So I would want to see a pretty solid buy candle with volume before I took action on it.
Mm-hmm.
But I could see that filling all the way back down across the gap into the moving averages as well.
For me,
you think it's going to come all the way back down? You don't think it's going to find support right there?
Well, it depends. I mean, you had an acute problem. If it becomes a chronic problem, then maybe you see a trend and you see it form and run. Mm-hmm. But if it sounds like they've already got 70% of their production capacity back online, and the U.S. is cranking out oil like crazy, I don't necessarily see a problem between supply and demand here.
Let me ask you this then, a little bit past the fundamentals. What about some of the, these large algorithm hedge funds? That those algorithms don't take into account this jump and this gap out happened because of bombing. It's just looking at the numbers, and the way it's set to program is the way it's moving down. Wouldn't that computer start being told to buy?
Could be. I'd have to call Gino and see what his insider oil trade is telling him.
You got to put your conspiracy hat on there for a second. But
me trying to guess what the algos are going to do, I don't know.
But from a technical standpoint, when you look at this technically, I don't see it breaking through all that resistance without some sort of support forming or even a rounding bottom. I disagree with you that it backfills all the way with the gap out.
Well, I say it could. So we'll have to watch and see. I mean, it's in that support resistance zone now, but I wouldn't be surprised if it did.
Let's ask our audience. Let's ask the halftime crew here. We got a venture group of traders out there. Guys, oil right here at $58. Are you a buy, a sell, or a pass? Now, buy, I'm saying doji confirmation. Do you think it's going to actually happen? Buy, sell, pass in the chat. I don't know where it's at. I'm with you though. No, I think the best bit of analysis is the fact that until you get confirmation, you got nothing here. I don't know where it's going to be. 58, 56. We can kind of try to parse out the technicals here. What's interesting though about whether this is going to be a structural bit of a problem for Saudi Arabia and oil, the Saudi Arabian energy minister came out today or last night or something, said, hey, by the end of the month, we're going to be fine. We're going to get supply back out on the market. We're going to shut this, problem down. I think the market's believing him, and they're kind of seeing that as well. If this is a one kind of blip in the radar, it threw the chart off. It was a historic day, but does it really change the dynamics of neutral oil like we saw in the past? I don't know. Buy, sell, or pass here, guys. I'm a buy on confirmation. I'm going to tell you that right now. For right now, though, I'm a pass.
I'm a pass right now. And maybe you got like the naked put cash flow scenario rather than be aggressive on the direction.
And that's actually what some of our students are saying. That's what I did as well. When it gapped up, I closed some puts, and now I'm just waiting for it to come back down to a level that I'm happy with to get some good premium back.
Yeah.
Because I think that's really the best bet. So I don't know if it's going to gap fill actually. And I'm actually leaning that it doesn't fill all the way back down, but I wouldn't mind if it did. So if it filled all the way back down, then I like that price better to sell puts against.
Yeah.
I like it better than it dojing tomorrow and me selling puts. I like it way better at 54 for me to sell puts. I like it at 52 to sell puts.
Another kiss hello that's developing is in natural gas, Noah. I love the reversal characteristics here. Now, I don't know where that new support's going to be. 250 kind of stands out to me. You hit the falling 200 from a long-term perspective, but now you have rising MAs. This is, you've seen this chart pattern thousands of times, Noah, where a long-term downtrend now moves into a short-term uptrend. When you've got time frame competition here, where do you lean?
In this case, I would say the 200 period moving average is a little stronger than the rising 9, for example. I actually expect a bit of a consolidation or a drop back. And then if it's going to power through that 200 again, you'll actually see a higher low form and then an upward move. So right now you can see the volumes tapered off a bit as it's hanging out there. And I'm going to, if I was a betting man, I'd bet that the 200 smackdown's a little stronger than the rising 9. But if you've got a strong shift in trend, I mean, you look at the volume, on the run up, I just expect a little consolidation that would probably lead to a seasonal breakout. I know that, again, demand does increase this time of year, and it's not an instrument I usually get super directional on. So, I'm cautiously bullish on that.
Yeah, I'm just looking to add cash flow, bull put spreads or something like that. If and when I feel confident, I'm not doing anything yet. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe this backfill doji and then confirmation. I would take a trade on that. As it's fighting this 200 though, I'm not interested. That I think Coach Mark talks at a moving average pinch, right? When you've got all this soup and this congestion kind of coming together. Wait for clarity on that chart, but it's a wonderful cash flow instrument when you do get clear charts. Gold and silver real quick here, Noah, they're kind of hanging out, and obviously the Federal Reserve, if they come out and they do cut interest rates, what does that mean for gold? Probably higher prices, I'm guessing.
I think we see gold run up on that news, just because, again, softening currency does create demand for gold. If we see a 0.5 point cut, I think you see a big rush to gold. If we see a 1/4 point cut, you might see a modest rally. And no cut at all, you actually might see gold sell. So that'll be interesting to watch that play out, between the dance between the dollar, the market, and the precious metals with the interest rate policy. This is one we probably could have thrown into our list of, how much do you think it's going to move it?
Sure.
It's definitely sensitive to it.
I think it is sensitive to it as well. And obviously I do like the precious metals and the stones. Palladium is on a beautiful pullback, by the way, the PA contract and PALL on the ETF. But if you have never traded palladium, not a bad product. They don't have options. So you're basically just using the ETF as an instrument. But I love that candle pullback back into a moving average and old resistance here, Noah.
That's a pretty chart. That is definitely a pretty chart.
Pretty. Father, I have sinned in the past. I got to tell you, I bought on a chart like that without confirmation. And I know that is a step system sin. Every once in a blue moon, I have done that though. You ever buy on just a regular old hammer candle, Noah?
Yes, I too have erred to err as human.
So when the Father has to confess,
and then justified it after the fact, like, oh, well, in the intraday, it had this. So that's why I bought it early.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to need somebody who has a much better read on this whole situation. Tell me if we're being blasphemous or not.
No, I wouldn't worry, Tim. It's a non-denominational priest. We're not offending anybody specifically.
Very good. We found the price of Bitcoin, by the way. It's 10,000. I talked about that on the halftime report and the podcast. BTC hanging around 10K for a couple months now, actually, kind of solidly holding that zone. Noah, who would have thunk that Bitcoin has no volatility for like 3 weeks in a row?
That's quiet time. But it's still holding that line. So it's not really going anywhere. I think some traders might like the stability in that, but I think anytime you see a consolidation like that, my expectation is that volatility ensues. Anytime I see a pinch down in price, I expect it to pop one way or the other.
Yeah. I'm kind of looking at that as well.
What's a Bitcoin? Did you see the Bitcoin bullshitter confession, Tim?
No, I haven't seen this one. Is this on Twitter?
Yeah, it's on Twitter.
It's the first confession.
It's on the YouTube. It's the first confession.
Father took.
I'll have to check this out. This is making my week, making my month. I'm so excited about this. I can't even tell you guys. Bitcoin in a symmetrical triangle pattern here. These are really difficult technical patterns to trade. Obviously, a breakout up or down, you can K trade this in some regard, some fashion. I think it's a stay away, probably a short-term day trading instrument or a hold if you are a true believer, and not everybody is. Very few people these days, actually. Stocks are down here today, waiting on the Fed. We're waiting on it as well. About an hour until the Federal Reserve meeting. If you're watching our show for the first time, like it, give it a thumbs up. Make sure you subscribe to our channel. Come back and check us out each and every day. We've got lots of content on the YouTube channel. We put a lot of, mindset videos, how-to videos. I think even the 7-step guide is right there on the front page. So if you've not gone through that, I'd go through that course on our YouTube channel. Guys, as we're heading into this part of the day, I always start, thinking about stocks, individual companies and whatnot. I did see some earnings companies come out. FedEx, Adobe, Chewy, General Mills. It's not really earnings season, but FedEx has seasonality here, Noah. Bring up FedEx, if you will.
It does. They had a disappointing outcome on earnings. And I think they lowered some guidance. We were talking about this in the lounge this morning, but I do typically have a bullish seasonal outlook. Big questions I have are consumer confidence and the price of oil. They did lower their guidance. And so I'm a little cautious, but this is one of those trades I look at every year. Sometime between September and October, FedEx usually finds its legs and starts to run because of, again, just increased demand on shipping as we head into the fourth quarter holiday, buying season.
Yeah.
And, I think there was a loss of a contract with Amazon. Again, the spike in oil prices, that can affect their bottom line, but they usually pass on a fuel surcharge to shipping packages. They've done that in the past when price of oil has been in question. But, even at $60 a barrel, that's not crazy expensive for fuel. So I think that could affect their bottom line. In this case, I'm watching that gap to see if it starts to fill in that support zone. We got pretty clear lines in the sand here.
I don't know the answer to this, but instantly my brain went to, I wonder how much of FedEx's revenue is done internationally versus in the US, because obviously they're a huge company, global company. They have their air freighting company where they ship all over the world. FedEx Express, FedEx Ground, FedEx Freight. I would like to know that. Cody, if you could dig into that, maybe we can talk about it later in the week, because this gap down, they're lowering guidance. They're saying, hey, for the rest of the year, and fiscal year, not just 2019, we are not seeing high expectations of deliveries and profitability. Stock is down. By the way, UPS drops on the news as well. They kind of work hand in hand most often. Adobe, software companies, Noah, real quick look at Adobe. This is a huge one. Finding the 200 MA down just a couple percent. That's not a very radical move on earnings. This is a long-term uptrend in a very healthy company who's had some, selling the last couple of months. It's a long-term watch for me. I wouldn't touch it right here necessarily just because of the weekly chart. But I got to tell you, I do like this longer-term opportunity. Noah,
I like the weekly chart. Big fat resistance zone, rising 50-week moving average coupled with the 200 period daily moving average. I like it above 286 or 7 in that ballpark for confirmation on a bottom. Could see a double bottom here. And again, with that earnings outcome, looks like they did have a beat. I'd have to dig in and read the earnings report and see what their guidance is. But from that weekly perspective, it's not a bad looking pullback into a support zone.
Sure.
So the nice thing about a trade setup like that, Tim, is you do have a pretty easy to define, threshold. Say, hey, if it breaks below this price point, we're probably wrong about that. So it makes it, I think, easy for the directional traders to say, yeah, I'll buy when I get some confirmation, but if it violates this price, I'm out.
Not really a swing trading candidate for me, though. I'm sure there are going to be plays at some point. I kind of like the leap options, Noah.
Yeah, more of a position trade type setup.
Maybe a poor boy covered call type setup, right?
Yes.
Yeah, things like that. Waiting, obviously, not going to do that pre-Fed and all that kind of stuff, but waiting on something to happen here, break above resistance. I might be interested in playing some leaps or something like that. General Mills, Chewy, CHWY. You ever traded this company?
I haven't, but I have ordered products from them. That's how I feed my dogs.
Yeah.
So, they've definitely continued to lose money on their earnings announcement. They're breaking a key support zone there. So there's another one of those IPOs. This one was not incredibly overvalued. It's only dropped about 6 points, not even that 5 points from the open here.
It was reasonably valued when they IPO'd, which rarely happens. And one of the reasons they did IPO was for the actual historical reason you do IPO is to actually gain some capital so that you can grow your business a little faster. That was their actual reason to IPO. And I think what they're struggling with is really just maintaining market share. They have you have other businesses like Walmart and Amazon getting in, encroaching in their space of being able to deliver dog food and various toys and things like Chewy kind of did. What was it, pets.com? We talked about this the other day, that they tried to do this back in the early 2000s and that just failed. Whereas now it's possible, but I think Chewy needs to do a better job of pushing back against Amazon and Walmart. Otherwise, when they lose that market share, how do you gain it back?
Yeah. Obviously the IPO statement that we've talked about, we don't trade IPOs until after they have a couple of earnings reports. This is a breakdown though. I mean, guys.
Yeah, it is. It's a tradable signal.
Is this shortable?
Yes.
Well, it's still in that hard to borrow phase according to this, but it does have plenty of put options.
It's amazing how liquid the options market can become on some of these new products. Yeah. Because there are weekly options on that chain, all that kind of stuff. So not shortable for most traders in most accounts because it's hard to borrow, but it does look like liquid put options. What's the spread on that, Noah?
Bid-ask spreads out in January are 30, 40 cents on the high end, 20 cents on the low end. 30-day options, 20 cent spreads, 10 cent spreads. Pretty decent volume and open interest for an IPO. Again, that's pretty impressive when you see the options get that liquid. That makes it tradable quickly.
Yeah, sure does. Guys, we're waiting on the Federal Reserve here in about 55 minutes. They're going to announce that announcement, whether they're going to cut interest rates or hold steady. And then Jerome Powell comes out and gives his testimony. And quite frankly, almost the testimony might be more important than the actual announcement itself.
People kind of start. I think that's absolutely true.
Yeah.
It will, and let me caveat that, because if we get the expected cut, then I don't think his speech will matter as much as if they don't cut. If they don't cut, there's going to be a higher spike of volatility. And then they're going to be curious as to, okay, why didn't he cut? So I think a no cut makes his speech more important than a rate cut does. So I think that his speech is more important, but I think it amplifies with what the initial decision is.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And, I had a question earlier in the chat. I want to get both your take on this, and then I'll give mine as well. Where do you get news, right from Coach Sarkar here, and I'll read it word for word. Quick question about the FOMC. Is there anywhere we can monitor it in real time? What source publishes the news simultaneously? Noah, what's your answer to that one?
Well, the Fed.gov, FederalReserve.gov has their own little live streaming link you can watch. All the financial channels typically will tune into a live stream and listen to it. So there's lots of places you can watch it, and then a lot of times I don't even watch it. I just watch the chart, and I try not to get the Feds into my headspace.
Yeah.
But you do like to I'd go straight to the FederalReserve.gov. I posted the link there in the chat.
Another source that I use actually is the live news widget right there in Thinkorswim. I'll put it on the market itself instead of an individual company or something like that, and just wait for it to hit the wire, because I want the chart. I don't want noise out of my television. Right. If something really crazy starts moving, I might flip on CNBC or something like that. And then I'm obviously going to listen to the testimony from Jerome Powell.
Yeah.
But the first and most pure form of it is just the chart itself. Watch the chart, read the chart. The chart will tell you what the market thinks of that news reaction. Cody, what do you do with these? Because you trade a lot of news-based events.
Yeah. So I kind of mentioned and answered Sakar's question in the chat. I'm going to have two of my brokers open, because I use one for charting. I use TOS for charting reasons, but then I do all my Forex trading through MetaTrader and Awanda. So I'm going to be watching the TOS news feed. So there's a little function in there that you can have the TOS news feed, because they're actually pretty quick to get their feed out there. And then I'm probably also going to have Forex Factory open, as well as TV right behind me. I'm going to have CNBC on. That way I can watch Jerome Powell's speech, and literally sitting right here at my computer while he's talking, I'm going to be listening for any those Q words that he used that can move the market one way or the other. So
There are a few trigger words. There's no doubt about it. Yeah.
He might trigger me if he does the wrong thing.
Yeah. You are a millennial. You're easily triggered. There's no doubt about that.
Oh, so many jokes there. And I teed it up for you, by the way. That was teed up for you.
FOMC statement.
Although
here in
I
about
do
50
get
minutes.
extremely annoyed that people keep calling like high schoolers doing dumb things millennials. Millennials are already like graduating college right now. Like, stop calling everybody that's younger than you a millennial.
Yeah, but it's just the universal term for
Young and dumb.
dumb. Yeah. So I guess.
Well, every new generation is the worst generation ever.
Yeah, the old guys.
Every old generation is the same.
I will say there are some dumb people in my generation that need to read a book.
I got to tell you, there's dumb people in every generation, kiddo. I hate to give you life news there, but that is the reality of it. We've got about 50 minutes till the Fed here, guys. I do want to get to Cody's kind of breakdown. You have a special segment planned here.
Yeah. All right. So I spent the morning setting up and doing a little research here, because today's fun segment that we're going to do is Fed Fact or Fiction. So I have a few different questions that I'm going to ask you guys. You're simply going to go fact or fiction. I'm not going to tell you how many are true, how many are false. I just want you guys to kind of discuss it, see what each of you think. It's not really just a score. It's just an open conversation as to what you guys think. So when y'all are ready, we can jump right into Fed Fact or Fiction.
Fed Fact or Fiction. All right. Yeah, ready to go.
All right. Let's start off with the Fed directly oversees the U.S. Mint and Bureau of Engraving and Printing.
Fiction.
I agree. Fiction.
It is fiction. Who does oversee those?
The Treasury does.
The U.S. Treasury does.
That's right.
That is fiction. All right. Janet Yellen, so former Fed chair, is
Fiction.
married to a.
Sorry, go on.
That was good. Is married to a Nobel Prize winning economist.
I would say academics tend to, hang out with other academics. She's definitely going to be in that circle. I don't know the answer to this, but I'm going to say fact. I'm going to guess.
I'll stick with fiction.
That is a fact. She is indeed married to a Nobel Prize winning economist, George Akerlof.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I wonder what their dinner conversations are like.
Oh, so many jokes there, but I'm gonna avoid that one. You go into conspiratorial. Hey, did you just get off the phone with this politician? All right. The U.S. Constitution never mentions a Federal Reserve System.
Fact.
That is correct.
That is a fact. Federal Reserve System.
Now, you've had reserve banks that go back hundreds of years, by the way. The current iteration of the Federal Reserve was formed in 1913 officially, but it actually goes back deeper than that. We're not going to get into it too far today.
Oh, well, you kind of jumped at one of my other ones is the Federal Reserve the first U.S. bank?
No.
No.
How many banks were before it?
Ooh, that's a good question.
How far back do we go? Are we counting the Bank of England? Because we fought a Revolutionary War over that stuff.
Listen, yeah.
We are counting from 1776 until now. How many U.S. central banks were there?
3.
That's a good question. 4.
There were 3.
I just guessed 4. All right. Okay. So
there was the first
one.
Bank of the U.S., which was between 1719 and 1811. The second Bank of the U.S., which is between 1816 and 1841.
I see. Interesting.
All right. Next question. The Fed fund rate affects the student loan rate.
Ooh. It's been.
How wouldn't the Fed fund rate affect every loan rate? I'm going to go with fact.
I would assume that the lending rate, the base rate, is going to have that domino effect throughout all interest rates in a market. I'm going to say fact.
That's a fiction.
Interesting.
The student loan rate is
felt like a trick question.
Directly set and pegged by Congress.
Interesting.
So it's their fault?
Absolutely,
Yeah.
everything's Congress involved.
Yeah.
Seems like a bad idea.
I haven't taken out a student loan in forever, so obviously I did not know that one. Yeah.
Actually, they're still the cheapest loans people can take out compared to some of these other giant credit cards at 26%. Student loans are down at like 6% right now. So
Jimbo, it's a trap.
it's a trap. All right. While we're on Congress, Fed's salaries are set by Congress.
They're a governing body. I'm guessing they're probably going to set their own salaries. They're appointed and confirmed by Congress. It is a quasi-government body. I don't know. That's a tough one. I'm going to say fiction.
That's a good question.
I'm going to
go with
change
fiction
because
as
I'm a
well.
poker player. I'm going to say fact. I saw Cody's smirk.
All right. No, what's your thought? Fact or fiction?
Oh, I'm going to stick with fiction.
Oh, it is a fact. Tim did read me there.
Play poker with Cody. Come on, Cody. Sit down, young man. I'll show you.
Oh no, we can play some poker. Actually, my friends say that I have a shitty grin all the time, whether I'm bluffing or not.
Yeah.
So that's my poker face is if I stop smiling, they were like, wait, what's he doing?
What's going on over there? Yeah,
right,
tackle trading poker game would be fun for sure. You know
that
who
would be. When I get back to the mainland, I will come stop in Utah.
I am not playing cards with Mark.
Mark is the probably the best card player at tackle trading. There's no doubt about it. I don't think it's a debate. I don't even think it's a debate. The man actually was a pro for a long time, and he played all kinds of games throughout his life. You don't want to play for money with Mark. I promise you that. Yep.
I even get a little nervous about fantasy football with Mark.
Yeah, and that's all for no money. So it's definitely different. Yeah. So who won?
No, there's not really a winner here. This is just an open form conversation.
Oh, so the only game where I get the most right, I don't win. There's no winners. All right. So I see how it works.
Okay.
Yeah.
Tim, if you want to win, Tim, then you won. But I got one more for you guys. More of just kind of an interesting fact. So there are 12 sub banks to the Fed, right? Which state has two banks within the same state?
Ooh.
Oh, good question.
That's a dang good question. Well, you got the St. Louis Fed, you got the Atlanta Fed, you got the New York Fed. I think New York State, New York City, probably not. Maybe one in Albany. I'm not sure. The obvious guess would be New York City, but which state or which city?
Which state?
I'm going to say California. I know you got the San Francisco Fed, and there might be a regional bank there as well, because even from the SFO Fed, I know the one here in Salt Lake City is a branch of the San Francisco Fed. I'm going to say California.
No, do you have a guess?
I'm going to go with New York.
Y'all are both wrong. It is Missouri. Because it has St. Louis and Kansas City.
I knew it.
Oh, that doesn't count.
The bank is physically located in Missouri.
St. Louis Fed has tracked inflation forever.
I have taken a tour of the Denver Fed, and they've got nice little propaganda set up. Like you can go in and watch movies about the Fed. They got nice smiling people telling you how wonderful the Federal Reserve System is. They hand you bags of shredded money when you walk in, and you get shredded money from the Fed. It's kind of fun.
They don't do that in Salt Lake.
Oh, I got one that I did.
Have you ever been to the Salt Lake Fed, Noah?
I have. Yeah, you bet.
You know, when you walk in there, they've got a guard with a gun and a metal detector.
That's it.
It is not a welcoming environment, I'll tell you that.
Yeah, no, I used to work downtown there. Even walking past the building kind of has an ominous feeling there.
Yeah.
But the Denver Fed's got a nice little place for tourists to go in and take a look at it, and it's pretty interesting. They got all kinds of currency on display. It's fun.
It is interesting.
I got two that didn't make the list because I figured y'all would have both gotten them pretty quickly. The Federal Reserve can destroy, shred, and burn up to $5 million a day.
Oh, more probably. I'm sure.
I think it could be more than that. Yeah,
that's a fact. Yeah, they destroy up to $5 million a day.
Yeah, burn the old money. Dead presidents, right? Yeah.
And I mean, most money these days isn't even physical. It's all numbers on a screen.
Yep.
And then the last one was how many members of Congress voted and agreed on the Federal Reserve, and when was it put into place? Noah and I were talking about this beforehand, so I know he knows the answer.
1913 is when it was put into place, and they actually had a
You know what date in 1913?
December 23rd.
December 23rd, I think, or something.
2 days
like
before
that.
Christmas.
Yeah, of course, because what they did is they snuck it in, Cody. They knew that they didn't have a quorum. If they had a minimum quorum, they could get the votes to pass it. And so they knew people were heading home for Christmas, and all of those people who weren't going to vote for the Fed left. Now, the amount they had, I don't remember. I don't know that because I don't know
13 members.
I don't know the minimum quorum back at the time. So
no, it was I believe it was 48 to 25. I looked it up a second ago to verify that.
And that was of that. That's
see,
not the House. That's the Senate.
Let's see. The House of Representatives passed the Federal Reserve Act by a vote of 298 to 60, whereas the Senate also passed the measure by 43 to 25.
43-25. That means 63 senators were there. You had a minimum quorum. They snuck it through, and then they took over the world, Noah. Read Creature from Jekyll Island. There's no doubt about it. That is a wonderful book.
That is a fantastic book.
Yeah, I agree. Well, I'll tell you, here's a fact.
For those of you who are curious, this is what it looks like. Fantastic book. It is a little bit on the thicker side, but take a month and just read through this thing. You will be blown away by the things that are in this book and how it was done and put together. And
Father Guido, I've got a confession.
All right.
Our book club is coming up in 2 weeks, and I'm not done with my book. I need to kick it in. I'm about 50 pages in is all, and I've got about 250 to go. And we've got 2 weeks of the book club. So guys, if you've not read this yet, I've not read it either. And I'm going to get right to it right after the markets here today.
I will know when you and Matt finish that book, because there are Easter eggs in there that I've listened to y'all debate for years. And I will know if you haven't read that book. Because I gotta hear it, because I'm really excited. It was a great book.
I can't wait to talk about it on the podcast, by the way. I mean, I'm very, very fired up about it. Guys, that is our show. Cody, anything we got to promote here today?
I believe we do have a winner on the Instagram voting. So we have a video coming out. I believe it's on Baba that Coach Gino is going to put together. So very, very interesting on that one. So make sure you get over to Instagram, guys. Check that out. And then after that, just Mind of a Trader tonight. Who is teaching Mind of a Trader?
It's going to be our Cash Flow Condors mastermind group, I believe. And also get over to any of our social media posts. And we also have a free event, Noah, that you're going to be teaching. Noah, do you know where the link is for the registration on that?
Let me dig that up real quick here. I do.
Yeah, I'll talk about it while Noah looks up the link, and we're going to post that. So Tyler's mastermind group at 8:30. We do it the third Wednesday of every month. And if you're a Condors trader, just type in the words cash flow in the chat, cash flow. Very important that you attend these mastermind groups, guys, especially if you're in your first couple of years. You know, there are things that happen within the Condor system that you must understand. Tyler does a really, really good job going through and talking about the management ideas around the ones that are already in. So the, Condor expiring in October or November, and then they go out and build, and probably going to build the November contract actually here today, and show you guys how to build that. So the Cash Flow Condors is a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful show to attend if you're trading that system. If you're not trading that system, it's a good one. It's a really good neutral cash flow income generator. There's no doubt about it. Got a link here.
Yep, I do. It's in the Zoom.
I will drop it for
Post
you.
that.
Why don't you head right to that page, Noah? If you're watching this right now and you're not a pro member, here's a really, really good chance to kind of get a sneak peek at what we do on the back end of tackle trading. There's a registration page right here. It's in the chat here. I would click it, go to that page today. It's last minute seating here today, Noah. I do know we've got a few seats open though, I'm sure.
Yeah, you bet. And again, this is for folks who are new to tackle trading, who want to see what we offer. We have an awesome offer for you: step system, free trial, and it's basically just a little show and tell. It's not no high pressure sales pitch or anything like that. It's literally just, hey, this is what we do. You can take advantage of this. Get access to the tackle trading website for 15 days. and get in and take the step swing trading seminar, the training on that. And you got 9 hours of training plus all the other training we have. We got the tech 101, options 101, systems 101, all of those types of trainings available for you. So it's just going to be a quick, about a 1 hour webinar, just showing you what the step system is and how you can use it. I know a lot of you are already, tackle members and step systems users. So, for those who are new, put in the chat what you guys think about that step system.
Yeah. Let me speak to that a little bit. First of all, the webinar tonight, we're always pretty transparent here at Tackle Trading. We're very direct. There are things we sell. We have a paid subscription, pro membership, $97 a month. There's not really a hard offer here tonight. We don't do that, Noah. When we promote systems and when we sell systems and products, they're premium that we put a lot of work into, and we put a fair price on them. There's no question about it. This webinar tonight is all value. It's value building. And by the way, if you're a pro member of Tackle Trading here in the chat, let me just ask you, is it worth the value? Do you get the value out of your $97 a month? And if you're not a pro member of Tackle Trading, just sign up, come and test it out. We always give you 15 days for free to try out our systems, try out our process, try out our webinars, and try out our premium products. No question about it. I got a bunch of people popping in here, but no, I'll be there with you tonight. I'll be open in the room and kind of hosting. I know that I'm excited to see what you've got cooked up here. Yep. And step system, that is one of my favorite things we've done at Tackle Trading in years. So I'm fired up. Father Guido Staccaducci. I must confess that 35 minutes before the Fed meeting, I've got to go.
So, yeah, me too. I got charts to watch.
I do. All right, guys. I love the show. Love being here every day. We'll see you tomorrow in the halftime report live here on YouTube. All right, we're out.